Maybe your friends recently got you into watching things like Critical Role or Dimension 20. Maybe you've heard celebrities talk about how much they love to play D&D. Or maybe you even just got done watching the new Dungeons & Dragons movie and you walk out of the theater and you go, hey, that was pretty fun. Wait, what? It's based off a game? How do I get into it? Hello traveler, my name is Corg the Mighty with a nerdy guide to D&D. In case you hadn't noticed, that new Dungeons & Dragons movie? Doing pretty damn well. And as with any successful media outing that is meant to promote another product, there's inevitably going to be a lot of people who want to get into D&D, but might not be quite sure how. And as a person with a degree in comedically talking on the internet, I feel like I am slightly qualified to talk about this, or at the very least, give my despicable personal opinion. So join me as we go through a couple of ways that you can get into this magnificent role-playing hobby. Disclaimer, the things that I talk about here are largely based on my own personal experience, the experience of others, and some additional research. This is not meant to be a guide covering every single possible way a person could get into D&D, just some common routes that I've noticed. Without further ado, let's set off.
That was easy.
Now, of course, the easiest way to get into D&D, or a lot of things for that matter, is knowing someone who already plays the game. This is obviously going to be pretty hit or miss, as it's largely dependent on your personal situation. Not everyone has a tiny D&D player in their back pocket that can answer all their questions. I am, of course, the outlier. Hello, little ones. But if you do happen to know someone who has experience in the game and can show you the ropes, it's probably going to be by far the easiest and fastest method. Get in touch with them, see if they can sit down with you for a couple hours and help you get started, maybe creating a starter character, showing you how the stats and combat work, learning stuff. If I could give one recommendation, make sure this person has a fair amount of patience. It can take time to fully learn and understand the various mechanics of D&D. And I can't tell you the amount of times I've heard of somebody never wanting to play the game again because their sensei was anything but zen with them. But as I stated before, this is not a luxury that everyone has access to. So if you want to get into a game but you don't know anybody who could teach you, what next? Making sandwiches! D&D media, followed by one of these things, followed by more D&D media, and repeat. That is the sandwich method. Corg, you sound crazy! I didn't already? Oftentimes when a new player asks, how can I get into D&D? A common response is people telling them that they should just read the player's handbook, or maybe get a starter set or an essentials kit. I actually have an essentials kit right here as an example, and the player's handbook I read online like a peasant. For context, the player's handbook in D&D is essentially your rule book, or at least a starting one. It gives new players a very detailed rundown on how to play the game, going over things like how to make a character, how to fight, how roles work, etc. Starter sets and essentials kits provide the other physical pieces you'll need to run a game. So, like how board games will come with the board and pieces and dice, these kits also come with dice, a basic starting quest, maybe some miniatures or a DM screen, the physical things you need to get started. That being said, while these things can be a good starting point for new players, it can sometimes be hard to figure out how all of the mechanics fit together when actually playing the game, and that is where D&D media comes in. The sandwich! I myself am partially a visual learner, so when I first saw all of this stuff, I was like, well, that's all good, but what does it look like to actually use all of this stuff? How do we actually play the game? I said, into the void, and what answered back was Dimension 20. Dimension 20 was the first D&D show that I actively consumed, and it went a long way towards showing me ways that D&D can be played. For those unaware, Dimension 20 is a show put on by College Humor on YouTube and Dropout. In its first season, it was essentially a bunch of comedians getting together and playing through a D&D campaign. They've invited more guests on since then, but it is essentially just watching a group of people play D&D and having a ball with it. Now, Dimension 20 doesn't have to be your show. There are plenty out there to choose from. Critical Role is also a very popular option. There's also the entire Dungeons & Dragons category on Twitch, where campaigns are constantly being live streamed. There are also D&D podcasts on services like Spotify that you can find, or recordings of campaign sessions that are uploaded to YouTube. So here's my recommendation to you, if you have the time, of course. First, find some D&D show where you find the players or the game entertaining, and watch like 1 to 2 episodes. Then read some of the player's handbook, maybe check out one of the starter sets or essentials kits to see more of the technical side of D&D. Finally, keep watching that D&D show, and probably sooner or later you'll start to pick up on the way that they're using the rules, the way that they're sort of playing the game, how it fits in with what's in the player's handbook. It all start lining up like a puzzle piece. And that is the sandwich technique. Content, learning, more content, repeat, become gluttonous. Rinse and repeat until you feel like you have a good grasp on what playing D&D actually looks like and entails. And of course, if you have any other questions in your journey for knowledge, there are a plethora of YouTube channels that are dedicated to answering your questions. You might even be watching one right now. Wink, wink. That's not how winking works. If I do it with both eyes, it's twice as effective.
Uh-oh.
What?
People.
Oh no, people.
So you've done the reading, done the watching, amassed a wealth of knowledge, and you're finally ready to play. Well, slow down there, sailor. It's time for you to take on the final boss of any D&D campaign. Not a dragon, not a horrible abomination. Socializing. Like most tabletop games, you typically need other people to play D&D, but as some of us have found out, those can be hard to find. The ways that you can go about finding a group to play D&D with are about as limitless as the stars in the sky, and is a really good place for that disclaimer at the beginning of the video to come in handy. Here is a quick rundown of some of the common options that I have either used myself or I have heard other people use. Number 1, asking friends and family. If you have a particularly nerdy friend group, or just a group of people that are interested in trying something different, call them up, set up a time, and get questing. Number 2, visiting IRL locales. Look up if you have any local game stores or comic book stores or even bookstores. Oftentimes there are people that are looking to start a campaign. Maybe they're posting about it within the store itself, or if they've already started a campaign, they might have a slot open for an extra player. Some stores even help run number 3, the D&D Adventurers League. This is an official group /system that runs 2 to 4 hour D&D campaign sessions at game stores across the world. Just look up D&D Adventurers League, type in your zip code, and see if any stores are running any events near you. Number 4, Discord communities. There's actually an official D&D Discord server that, yes, has chats dedicated to finding other players or finding DMs, as well as more general discussion about the game itself. Beyond that, if there are any D&D content creators that you follow, wink wink, check to see if they have a Discord server too. If they do, typically those servers also end up having some tools for finding other players as well. There are also plenty of other servers out there if you want to continue exploring. Finally, number 5, social media. Now, this is the one that I personally have the least amount of experience with, so take it with a grain of salt. Sites like Roll20, D&D Beyond, Meetup.com, and yes, even the Underdark that is Reddit, have forums or communities dedicated to finding fellow players. Reddit specifically has a looking for group or LFG subreddit that I've heard some good things about, so if you're brave, give it a check. I'll also include just a ton of links in the description. However, as always, when using any of these methods to find other players, be careful. There will always be toxic players that you need to weed through, or players that you just don't vibe with. It's like trying to put together a team for a sporting event. You know, some members are going to click, and some are just not. And once your group starts meeting consistently, congratulations, you are officially a D&D player. From here, you can do whatever you want. Keep watching D&D shows and content creators, develop an unhealthy dice addiction, maybe even try becoming a DM yourself once you get some more sessions under your belt. There are a ton of experiences for you to explore, and they're all out there for you to find. Just make sure to eat your sandwiches, stay safe with other people, and remember that winking like this is 100% more effective. If you found this video helpful, leave us a comment down below, or a like, or a subscription, or maybe just like a crisp high five. And if you're not a new player, let us know down in the comments how you got into the game. We always love to hear your tales. This is Corg the Mighty signing off for A Nerdy Guide to D&D. Good night, or good morning, good day. Good day.